What's up, gentlemen? So in today's episode, you are absolutely going to love it. We've got my friend David de las Morenas, who is more commonly known as How to Beast. He runs a crazy successful YouTube channel. He's going to talk a little bit about YouTube, how he got started, the evolution of not only his channel, his businesses. We're going to talk a little bit about YouTube drama, which apparently is everybody's favorite topic. Guys, you guys are going to love this, and I can't wait for you to meet my friend, How to Beast. David, why the hell did you respond? I know why, but tell the audience.
I went back and forth on it a couple of times, but you know, to your point, I think it's kind of like arguing politics. Like when someone has such a hard stand on something, like regardless what you're going to say, they're just going to find a different way to interpret what you're saying and still believe the same thing. But ultimately, I just responded because there was just like straight up lies, right? Like I don't mind if someone makes a video and has their opinion and disagrees with me. That's fine. It doesn't bother me at all. But if someone's like telling people who are partly my audience, they're like, oh, like really selectively choosing clips and taking them out of context and just creating this false storyline. I mean, obviously, it bothered me to an extent that I was like, okay, well, I just want to set the record straight.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Alpha M Podcast. Today I've got a very special guest, a friend, a fellow YouTuber, and somebody who is absolutely killing it in the fitness game. He recently launched a new Beastly app. He is a best-selling author, which we're going to talk about a little bit, of 4 amazing books, and just an overall great guy. And here producing incredible YouTube content that is just next level in terms of quality, shots, cinematography, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Today, gentlemen, please welcome, see, I told you I'd butcher this, my friend David de las Morenas from How to Beast. Did I get your name 100% or what?
You nailed it. That was perfect. Yeah.
All right. So what nationality are you?
So my dad is from Spain. All my family still lives over in Spain, southern Spain, Sevilla. So that's where the long last name comes from. Yeah.
Oh man, it's super cool. So David, you are blowing up on YouTube. You know, you've been doing this now since like 2014. I went back and watched some of your earlier videos, and my God, like you look like, I mean, in 5 years, like the transformation is unbelievable when you look back. Not only have your videos gotten a lot better, but I mean, you look like you've grown up over the course of the past 5 years. You and I have something very similar in common. We both attribute our confidence and basically fitness with changing our lives. You quit your job as software engineer right? Software engineer.
Yep.
To actually get a certification as a personal trainer and actually embark on a fitness as a career. Tell everybody a little bit about your story. I'm sorry for monopolizing this, but you're an interesting guy, and I love your story because it resonates so much with myself and how I got started. So tell everybody your story from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, growing up, sports was kind of the main thing in my life. The second thing to that was really, I guess, video games. Or I like to build computers in high school. That was like one of my hobbies when I wasn't playing basketball. And, you know, I think that led me to I majored in economics, but I did a lot of coursework in computer science, internships with software companies. And that led me to getting the job as kind of a software implementation engineer. And I just really didn't enjoy it. At first, it was challenging. You know, I had to learn a lot of different. SQL was kind of like the language for anyone out there who's into software. That's the language that I coded in or scripted in. And kind of after this first 6 months, I felt like I'd kind of learned, you know, the main things that I had to do for my responsibility. And once the challenge disappeared, I just felt exhausted having to go to work, you know, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., sit behind my desk, kind of pretend like I was busy. You know, when you're working in a corporate environment, like, a lot of times you can finish your work kind of quick, but you still have to be there physically. And I started kind of building my blog on the side, you know, pretending like I was doing my work at work and like starting to build a blog. And I just decided I wanted to do something else. At the time, my cousin had recently got his personal training certification. I was becoming obsessed with working out. That was like what I would look forward to after work would be, you know, driving home, sitting in terrible Boston traffic, sipping on my pre-workout and going to the gym. And I decided it wasn't easy for me because I kind of left a lot of money on the table. Software is a lot better paying job than personal training, or nothing's really guaranteed. And my friends and family.
What year was this when this happened?
So I graduated 2012. This was probably 2014, into 2013, begin 2014. And that's when I decided to make that leap and give personal training a try. And, even though that ended up being the ultimate thing I ended up doing, I think taking that leap and kind of trying something different is ultimately what put me on the path to, to where I got today. So I just kind of attribute that decision as the starting point.
And so what made you start filming yourself and putting YouTube videos up? Was it something that you thought about for a while before you actually did? Were there videos that you have taken down, your earlier videos? Because the one that you put up there, it was like 6 bad habits that men do or something.
I'm on a rooftop in Boston.
Yeah. Boston rooftop. There you are, looking all young, talking about, things that guys, do that we shouldn't do. That was a pretty consistent, like it was a well shot video, and you were pretty comfortable, it seemed like, in front of the camera. Was that your first video that you had ever put online, or what was that?
No. So like I said, dude, while I was doing personal training, I kind of started messing around with blogging. That was back when blogging was like a popular thing to do. And
was it the How to Beast blog, or was it something else?
Yeah, it was How to Beast. It was howtobeast.com. Actually, a funny story is I changed the domain to borntobulk.com for a little while because I was getting really obsessed with fitness. And after a few months, I realized it was not close to as catchy or good of a name. And I had to pay to get my domain back because it went into some domain arbitration or something but that's a side story. And
Born to bulk. I like it.
It's not as How to Beast is better, but yeah, that was. Yeah. I thought that's what I wanted to do, but then I was like, I can't just do only fitness content. But while I was blogging, I started getting really into watching YouTube videos, and I definitely had a few videos that I took down before that were kind of just me reciting blog posts to the camera. Even though the first few videos that, if you look at my channel, my oldest videos, those are basically the same thing, kind of like reciting blog posts that I'd written. And that, for sure I was not completely uncomfortable on the camera on that first video. I wouldn't say I was 100% comfortable, but yeah, the first videos were really bad. And I kind of wish I had left them up in retrospect. I took them down probably 2 or 3 years ago when I really started consistently uploading. And I think I was a little bit embarrassed about them, to be honest.
Yeah, mine
too.
I've taken a lot of my early ones down, and I wish I hadn't. Just because it does sort of chronologically show you the progression, because that's the thing that I think a lot of people, when they think about starting a YouTube channel, one of the things is fear of not being perfect, or they'll film themselves and they're like, oh God, I'm so awkward, I'm this or that. And that is something that holds a lot of people back, the fear of not being perfect. And I tell people, I'm like, look, you get better. The more you do it, it's like anything, right? The more, you're a basketball player, the more you shoot free throws, the better at it you get. The more time you're in front of the camera, you sort of find your sweet spot. And I think that you have definitely found a sweet spot and a niche in a world and a sea of content creators that are a little bit more basic, a little bit more like what I do, where I'm just in front of a wall and I'm doing jump cuts and that's that. You have taken it to another level in terms of the cinematography. And so talk about how and why, that sort of evolution happened. Why did you decide, what, I'm gonna make this super sexy? Because with that comes the inability to crank out content as quickly and as fast as a guy like me, a guy like Jose Alex Costa, where we just have a backdrop and we're, shooting. Because you used to do that, but then you sort of took that leap. Talk a little bit about how you create these beautiful cinematic sort of almost like mini movies for your channel.
Yeah, so when I got started, I kind of did make a similar format where I would just stand and talk. And if you watch a lot of the beginning of them, none of them even have cuts in them. I would just sit there and talk for 10 minutes with zero editing, right? I basically just upload it straight to YouTube. That's not when I was consistent. 2017 is really January 2017 is when I made the decision, I want to take YouTube seriously. My blog had kind of just plateaued for the last couple of years. That my income had plateaued for the last couple of years, and I was like, I need to try something different rather than grinding out these same products to my same audience size. And I was like, that's when I invested in a camera, and was like, I'm gonna do 2 videos a week. And at first, they were still very similar videos to one spot talking, but then I think I've always had a desire or enjoyed making videos. Back whenever we had school projects and middle school and high school, me and my buddies would make funny videos. Obviously they didn't have crazy editing, but music
videos back there, which we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, we can get into that. Yeah, so I think I started enjoying the process of editing just as much as the process of filming, or maybe even more. And then I kind of had the idea, like, what if, because right now my channel, or at that time my channel was very similar to you or Jose, or, where it's kind of just, men and self-improvement topics to the camera. But I was starting to consume a lot of, like, Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon, or even just like, Max Jr., Christian Guzman. And they have more of these, like, their videos are kind of a day in the life, and they usually have like a storyline. And I was like, what if I combine the cinematography and the entertainment of that with the information from the type of videos I'm doing? And at first they were kind of rough, where there'd be like a really bad edit in between me talking in one place and the second place. But little by little, they evolved. And I've always had the mindset, like, I want to make each video, incrementally better than the last video, whether it's my on-screen presence, whether it's the music selection, whether it's the speed ramping and the drone shots, or like whether it's the drone shots themselves. And I think I just really kind of enjoyed and dove into the process of like planning out and editing the video and trying to make it like encapsulated into like, not you call it a mini movie. I'd say it's like a little storyline for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but you now have a videographer that helps you make these. What is the process now?
So actually, I was using them a lot. It's kind of right in the middle of COVID and quarantine. I guess we're still kind of in the middle of it, but I'd say more in like April, May, June. The last couple months, we've been traveling a little bit. I've been really caught up with Beastly and improving that. And also, we just hired another employee. So lately, I actually haven't been using him. But when I used him, it was basically just for like the intro sequence where I like to start my videos, not all of them, but a lot of them with like a cool edited intro sequence with some music that kind of like sets the scene for wherever the video's starting. So I was having him film and edit those just because, if I do that, and I did that like yesterday, for example, and my fiance Julia, luckily she's gotten good with the gimbal. She can help me film those and I can edit them. But that still turns into at least an hour of filming and maybe 2 hours editing for a 30-second sequence. So the idea was to have him do that. Plus, it gives me accountability, because I don't know about you, but if on filming days, a lot of times I'll sit around and procrastinate doing like emails and small tasks until like 2 p.m. And then the way I film my videos, I don't finish filming until like midnight at that point. So with him, I'd be like, all right, we'll meet at 9 a.m. And that would also just give me some accountability to get started early. But lately I've been busy and I haven't used him as much, unfortunately.
So talk a little bit about, because this podcast is a little bit more entrepreneurial focused. So when you started your blog, how were you monetizing it? Was it by the e-products or the e-books that you were writing? I saw the first one I believe you did, it was how to write, it was like write a book, make money, or something to that effect, right? Talk a little bit about that process and talk a little bit about, just the action and process of writing a book and ebook and getting it published and becoming a #1 bestseller like super quick. So talk a little bit about that.
So at that point, I was blogging, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the process of writing, which I've kind of lost the passion for. I guess video making has kind of replaced that. But at the time, I was reading, I don't know if you know James Altucher. He's more like, he does some finance stuff. He does different things, but he was preaching a lot like self-publishing was a very profitable way. And he was someone who'd been, I think, published traditionally by a big publishing company, but talking about how self-publishing was very profitable through Amazon and Kindle. And I kind of did it as an experiment. And I think the first book I actually wrote, there's 8 or 9 of them, but some of them probably don't show up that much on Amazon anymore. The first one was called like The Simple Art of Bodybuilding, and I released it as a free book, and it still got like 5,000 or 6,000 downloads. I didn't really have too many people following the blog at this time. Yeah. And even when I changed it from free to like $2.99, I was getting like a couple $100s a month from Amazon, and I was like, I didn't even try to market this. Like I posted it on like the bodybuilding forums or something, but it's like organically getting traffic. So I kind of dove into that for a few years, and really, I guess enjoyed writing books on different subjects, but also I kind of dove into trying to figure out the Amazon, how to get your products or your book to like organically rank high on Amazon. And basically I'd launch a book. The very short strategy I would use would be I'd launch a book for free. I'd blast it to my email list, my blog, my social media, get 500 quick free downloads. Then that would allow it to get visibility organically. It would also allow you to get 20, 30, 40 reviews, and then you change it to $2.99 or $9.99 or whatever the price was at the time. And because it was getting so many downloads, it would start to show up on the bestsellers list. And then now people who are organically just browsing Amazon, they say, oh, this is a men's health bestseller. It's got, 35-star reviews. And then it would kind of get picked up organically through Amazon.
Tell me this, if you don't mind me saying. What book has made the most money?
Of all my books?
Yeah.
The Book of Alpha was the one that made the most money. And it's gotten to, that was probably the third or fourth book I published. But it's gotten significantly more competitive. And I haven't even been involved in that for the last 4 years. But from the point I started to the point I stopped, it had gotten significantly more competitive and was becoming a lot harder to rank. You had people, I think, with bigger followings starting to try that same strategy.
So how much money, when you were, when that was like your full-time thing or primary source of, I assume that at some point that was your primary source of income when you were getting things rolling with YouTube. What would you make in a month?
So at that point, I was personal training part-time. I was writing the blog and the ebooks part-time, and I actually was doing some software consulting part-time on the side. So I'd wake up, and from like 7 a.m. to noon, or 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., I'd work on the blog and the books. Then I would log on to like the software job and work for 3 or 4 hours, and I'd go to the gym for like 8 hours until like basically they closed at like 11 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
So there was I had different revenues, I guess, different sources of income is what I'm saying. I think at the height, when my books were selling the best, I was making maybe like $1,000 a week, and that's with a very small blog following, which,
But shit, $4,000 a month is like real money, right? That's more money than honestly the majority of people in this country make in a month or a year, if you extend that out. Well, that's pretty incredible. When did you see the real shift in YouTube in terms of was there a point at which you're like, wow, this is really going to work and this is what I'm going to focus on? Was there some like instance or some situation? What was it that made you realize, okay, this is where the future is going to be for me?
So like I said, beginning of 2017, I was like, I'm going to commit to 2 videos a week. And I actually have not missed a single week since then, almost 4 years now. And probably, I want to say a little more than halfway through that year, August or so 8 months after starting, I had a few videos, and these were kind of the videos where I haven't done these in a while, where I'd be out in the street approaching girls with me and my buddy, or me and my fiance, and a few of those caught on after the fact and kind of went viral after the fact. And then all of a sudden I was getting like, I remember me and Julia were in Toronto traveling, and I was like, I've gotten 1,000 subscribers a day for the last like 3 days. And then that's unlike any, I guess, response I'd had before. And that ultimately is when I was like, all right, this is something I need to put even more effort into and see, if I can cultivate this even further.
So since then, recently, you've launched an app. Talk a little bit about the app, first of all, and then what was it like? Like the process of actually building something to this scale and this magnitude, what went into it in terms of, the technological like end of things? Like, did you hire a firm? Like, talk a little bit about the app, because the app, it's a fitness app. You can go to beastlyapp.com, right, to grab that thing. And it's all about helping guys basically avoid the 3 main sort of things that prevent you from making progress, which is accountability, not tracking your progress, and what was the third one, David? Help me.
I think it was just consistency.
Consistency, that's what it is. So,
yeah.
But it's not just that. Like, this app is honestly, like, I've tried a lot of different fitness apps. Your app is, like, if not the best one that I've ever seen, just because it really does, you feel like you're involved in the process, with the pictures and the diet and just everything that goes into it. And so you've done an amazing job at building something that I really feel is going to help a lot of people. And so talk a little bit about the process of you deciding, okay, this is what I'm going to try to do. And how long did it take? Like, what was the process behind the app?
So I've sold every year or two. I've kind of like refreshed the fitness programs that I've sold. And at first they were PDFs. Then they were kind of like a members only website, which is essentially just like, a video course that has, Excel spreadsheet for tracking progress. And the feedback I always got was like, oh, it'd be cool if I could, basically log my weights in an app instead of having to use like Google Sheets app on my phone or something like that. And so when I was getting to the point where I was like, all right, it's been about 2 years, we need to kind of create the next iteration of fitness programs. I was starting to play with the idea of an app, and then I ended up getting an email from a company that basically creates apps for influencers. And at first I was going to go with them because they make it super easy. There's no initial investment. But then they take, like 30% of your profit or something like that. And I made a video saying, that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. And then I'm sure this happens to you too. When you mention things in videos, people all of a sudden they reach out to you. And a few app development firms reached out to me. One of them in Germany. I talked to them a few times, and they were the ones who built it, right? And what I really liked is that they built it from the ground up, because there's a lot of influencers now who have their apps, but they're basically like this white label.
White box. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same platform, and they just put your logos on it, your color scheme, and they'll put your workouts in there. But then when I was like, okay, but I'd like it to be able to track your macros. They're like, ooh, wow, we launched it, see how it goes. I was like, but I want it to be able to actually track your weights in the gym. I don't know if we can do that at the start. And I was kind of consistently, anything that wasn't already in there, they didn't want to do. And when I talked with this German development team, they're like, yeah, we'll build it from the ground up. And it was to be transparent, it was a $50,000 investment. It took them probably 6 months or so to build it. The last couple months being a lot of testing and feedback. And but I was able to include every single feature that I wanted. I mean,
$50,000. That's a lot of money, right? And that's a scary sort of undertaking, right? I mean, but what was it? Like, why did you decide, like, okay, this is the investment, this is the next step, this is what I have to do? Like,
well, because essentially it's a platform for me to release new programs and meal plans for, I don't know, for the next few years at least. And at that point, maybe, I just have them do like a rehaul of the app. It's essentially I'm building a platform. It's not like I'm putting 50,000 into releasing a fitness program. Because it allows me to constantly push new updates, and we've already pushed new programs. We've added women's programs, more men's programs, more meals, and we constantly kind of add new features based on user feedback. Now it makes sense to be a subscription model, right? It's not just a one-time fee, because there's constantly being updates and upgrades. It's almost like a Netflix model type thing. And in my head, I did the math, how many users do I have to realistically get over how long to pay back the initial investment, and it came out to, I thought I was going to be, 4 or 5 months, very conservatively, we'll pay back the initial investment. And I actually ended up being wrong, because we offer monthly and yearly subscriptions, and so many people purchase yearly subscriptions up front that within the first 3 hours, I think we paid for the app, which was amazing. But for sure, it's scary. But I feel like one thing, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, one thing that served me well as I've continued to grow is whenever I have an itch to this seems kind of scary, but maybe this would be a cool product or a cool video or a cool whatever it is, because you have multiple different companies that you've started. I kind of have the mindset now, fuck it, let's just give it a shot.
What's
it seems
the worst
like
thing that happens, right? That's it. That's absolutely, that is the thing that I fear now is regret. One of the traps, though, is I think that a lot of YouTubers, a lot of people, once you sort of find a formula of whether or not it's making money or doing something, I think it's very tricky, and it's a balancing act not to chase every dollar or what you see as possibly easy money, because there's once you, and this is just for the people watching, once you develop a following, you are approached with offer after offer after offer versus, opportunities here and opportunities there, and I can make you this, and I'm going to help you do that. And really being true to your vision, being true to sort of yourself and your audience, and not trying to bite off too much and more than you can chew. I get reached out, contacted all the time about, we could start a membership website, and all you need to do is get X number of people, and you're going to make $100,000 a month, and it's going to be, and it's like, you can't chase every dollar, because ultimately, if you do, you're going to lose credibility. You're also going to, I think, go crazy. Plus, it's really frustrating. You don't have, 30 hours in the day. We all have 24, and how you use it, how you choose to sort of allocate that time, which is the asset that we can't get more of, that's the thing that you really need to pay attention to. So I want to talk about drama on YouTube a little bit, David, because recently you have found yourself in sort of the middle of a little bit of a drama situation. You have been very forthcoming on your YouTube channel about your use of TRT, which is testosterone. And it wasn't necessarily something that medically you needed to do. It was something that you did. I assume that one of the reasons primarily was because of the pressure that you feel being in this fitness industry and space. There's tremendous pressure to look a certain way, to present yourself in a certain manner. And that is one of the things that I worry about for a lot of the people that are creating fitness content is, your body, what happens if you get hurt? What happens if you can't work out? What happens if, you just don't want to go to the gym in 10 years from now every day and look a specific way? And so I think that finding a sort of a balancing act in terms of figuring out how to make money off of, your knowledge, your information, I think is incredibly important, because your body is something that you really ultimately don't have 100% control of over, long-term, long range. But you are very forthcoming about the fact that, I started TRT for, I wanted to, feel better, I wanted to look better, I wanted to make, significant progress in the gym. And so you've been very open with your audience. But recently there have been some fitness guys that have been talking about it. And one guy, Greg Doucette, he was not, he does the same thing, right? He is very, I think he's a fan of yours, and he was, doing some videos. He's done a few videos on you talking about it. But then there was another guy who sort of, went after you, in terms of, being fake natural and this and that. And you responded, right? And so one of the hardest things about being a YouTuber, and this is, not poor YouTube people or anything like that, but it's very difficult because YouTube gives people the platform to say whatever they want. And you've got two choices. You can take it and ignore it, or you can respond. But it's an incredibly vicious cycle when you start to get into that trap, because YouTube, unfortunately, we are in a society that has become very toxic, and YouTube has become incredibly toxic. The quickest way to sort of grow a channel is to start talking crap about other people, and honestly, it's not going to go away anytime soon. And so you decided to actually respond, which I thought was, admirable. I also thought that it might be a tactical error on your part, because it perpetuates, this cycle. What was your thought process going into that, and why did you decide that, I'm going to take a second, make a video, and address this? Because honestly, David, there is no winning in these situations. That's what I found anyway. But what was?
No, it's like having yeah. Go ahead, finish.
No, it sucks, because it's one of the hardest things to have somebody say things that are not true about you in such a public forum, and to not be able to respond, or to be able to respond, but or at least I do, that, I can't respond to this, because if I do, it's going to give them more attention. It's going to perpetuate this. And the truth is that people have a very short attention span. So it might suck for a little while. I made a mistake. Video I did, and I learned this lesson the hard way as well, right? I did a video talking about why movement watches are better than Rolex watches, right? And it was I thought the video was supposed to be like this. I thought it was funny. But I didn't realize that people weren't going to get it, or that there were going to be certain people that were going to use it not as a tongue-in-cheek sort of joke, but hey, this is what he's saying, and it is because he is trying to sell movement watches, and you can't trust this guy. And so I put that video out, and right away there were people that were just like slamming me, and I can't believe him, and what a piece of shit, and all this. And I had a guy, Teddy Baltazar, that I had done like an interview with before. He had like 5,000 subscribers. And I thought, he reached out about the situation. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go and just explain that it was a joke. And I was just kidding. And this is, what I was talking about. And this is what I meant. And I assumed that everybody would be like, oh, cool, no problem. Thanks, Alpha, no big deal. Well, he came at it from the angle of, I'm going to basically act like I didn't know it was a joke, and I'm going to attack his credibility. And he went as far as to pay people to actually, like this guy, Archie Luxury, he paid somebody $20 to come on and like ask me a question and basically call me a piece of shit. And it was an absolute horrible, horrible, horrible experience. And I thought I should have just kept my fucking mouth shut. And I know better, but I did it. And that was a very, very painful learning experience, because it hurt. I mean, it hurts anytime somebody says or talks trash about you. But you decided to respond. David, why the hell did you respond? I know why, but tell the audience.
I went back and forth on it a couple of times, but you know, to your point, I think it's kind of like arguing politics. Like when someone has such a hard stand on something, like regardless what you're going to say, they're just going to find a different way to interpret what you're saying and still believe the same thing. But ultimately, I just responded because there was just like straight up lies, right? Like I don't mind if someone makes a video and has their opinion and disagrees with me. That's fine. It doesn't bother me at all. But if someone's like telling people who are partly my audience that like, oh, like really selectively choosing clips and taking them out of context and just creating this false storyline, I mean, obviously it bothered me to an extent that I was like, okay, well, I just want to set the record straight. And I think I did so in a very clear way. And all the comments on my video that I dropped all basically agreed and were like, yes, this clears it up. Or most of them even were like, you didn't even have to do this, right? We knew that was not the truth, but I do think that it cleared it up for some other people. Obviously, the guy who made the video on me then made a follow-up video, which basically restated what he stated, except instead of yelling about it, he like more calmly said it. But yeah, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Part of me also replied, and this is more of like a YouTube creative reason for replying, because the type of video that I'm doing that we talked about, where I have kind of a day in the life with advice mixed in, I've done so many of them, and I'm at a point now where I'm also want to experiment with different video formats just to make sure I keep evolving and challenge myself to keep evolving, because I've gotten so comfortable creating that type of content. And to me, this also presented an opportunity to kind of a creative challenge in the sense of, okay, how am I going to tackle this video, you know? And then it also became, you know, now I'm editing clips of other YouTubers in there versus the clips that I said. And to me, that also presented a little bit of creative challenge. But yeah, for the most part, I just kind of wanted to set the record straight and be like, you know, this is what he said, but if you actually watch the clip in the original video, then like that's not actually true.
Where do you draw the line? You know, that's kind of the question, right? Like he does a response video then to your video saying other things that aren't true, and there's that knee-jerk reaction is I got to respond again. Where do you draw the line, I guess? And is it because, well, obviously, here's the other thing. I mean, the truth is that they were both big YouTubers. And so that doesn't hurt in terms of doing a video. You know, I mean, drama sells, right? And so, you know, in your mind, you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this and it's going to get a lot of views because, you know, these people have a large following in your demographic, in your space. And so it was going to be kind of like a win-win, right? You're going to talk about it. You're going to set the record straight. You're going to get a lot of views. So it was a good decision for you.
Yeah, I don't regret it at all. And I think you're right. I mean, the video didn't get like a tremendous amount of views. I'd even say it got pretty average, maybe slightly below average views, but I do think that those views were from, you know, partly from those other YouTubers' audiences, and I think it probably did draw some of them in, so I don't regret it. I told myself after I made that one, like, I'm just done. Now, the last video I uploaded, like, it wasn't a response video, but to me, I kind of used something that was said as a launch pad to discuss another subject.
Yeah.
I understand, and I knew when I did it, some people would still, you know, associate it with the drama. But in my mind, that was more a decision like, this is relevant, and I like starting my videos with like something to hook people in. And I think this is just like, it's more of an effective hook to discussing a topic I want to discuss anyway.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm for sure not going to be uploading any more videos about it. But yeah, no, it's a tough line to tell for sure.
It is hard, man. It is so hard. Like there's not. It's so frustrating too. You know, and it's hard. It's funny because the same YouTuber did a video about me. And, you know, he was bitching about, it was so funny because in my video, he was talking about, I did a video 3 times talking about how to get a better looking butt. I want to say, you've done 87,000 fucking videos about how to build a bigger bicep, and you're bitching about me doing 3 about have a better looking butt. And then the other thing that I thought was really funny is, you know, complaining about me selling things, and then in that exact video, he's selling a pair of jeans that he's an affiliate with. I'm like, okay.
I mean, I think, yeah, we don't have to say his name, but like clearly, and from his video on you and his video on me, there's just a lot of very like incongruent, obvious things that like.
I'll say his name. His name's Scott Herman, and it was funny because I used to actually look up to him. When I started started YouTube, man, he was like the first, like he was like the king. He was you know, he was doing really great content, and I think that he's fallen into the trap that a lot of us do, where it's, your views might not be where you want them to, and so you realize that if you talk trash about people, you can end up getting a lot of views, and views are make you feel good, because when you put out a video that doesn't do good and you don't get good views, it makes you feel really bad. And so but it's funny because he has something on his channel about no drama, just real good advice. You might want to scratch
It's
out
all
that,
drama,
just a little
yeah.
drama. But anyway, and then in terms of respecting him now, definitely has lost a little bit of that, the way that he goes about things. But you know what? Hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is, and I used to be a fan. But anyway, so enough about.
It's the same, man. I don't like to, like, as a rule, I don't really like to be angry or have hate towards other people, because then it just like serves as a distraction in my own life. But yeah, for sure, lost respect.
Talk a little bit about the future, David. What are you doing? I know you're getting ready to move from Austin to Houston, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you're building a house, which is very exciting. It's also a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And when it was funny because I built a house recently, and I was watching your video, and you're talking about the cabinets, and they could go all the way up, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what he picked. How are the cabinets in the kitchen? Are they going all the way up, or are they not going all the way up?
They're going all the way up.
Good man,
We're
good
going all the way
man,
up.
good man. I'm proud of you, because it's going to look a lot better. But anyway, so you're getting ready to move. You got some big things on the horizon. Talk a little bit about the future. Like, what do you look for, 5 years down the road? You've been doing this now for about 5 years, a little longer, and you've had some incredible success. Where do you hope or see the next 5 years? Is it more apparel? Is it more fitness apps? Is it transitioning to something else? Like, what do you think you're going to be doing in 5 years?
I try not to look that far ahead. I prefer to focus maybe on like the next 6 months or so.
6 months.
But
what is it?
Okay, the general, obviously moving to Houston's part of it, moving into a house. But in terms of the YouTube and the businesses, to continue making good YouTube videos, but I really do want to be able to have a greater focus on the businesses. So, but both scaling the Beastly app up, beyond even my direct audience through the use of advertising, but also just, I think I need to incorporate it even more organically into all of my content. For sure, the clothing edge is, we need to scale up the quantities we have like ridiculously, because we sell out every launch, and like it feels good, and like you never really like risking that massive of an investment, but at the same time you can't grow if there's not constantly inventory for people to buy.
That talk a little bit about,
Yeah.
actually, let's talk a little bit about that, because that is a different method of selling, right? There's this big thing where like I think Christian Guzman has done an amazing job. Probably, I don't know where he got it from. Maybe it was Gymshark. I don't know who started this, but it's this whole idea and premise behind, you basically build up the hype, and you do a launch. And there's so much, the idea is that there's so much anticipation, there's so much hype, there's so much demand that you sell out really quick. And so one of the things is you actually don't order, like, it's actually not necessarily a good thing to have leftover stuff for people to come in and buy later, right? It's all about that launch and just basically making your money and moving on. But with that, and a lot of people do it. Jose does it at Essentials. You do it. Max Tuning does it. There are a lot of people doing it. Talk a little bit about the mindset and why you choose to do it that way, as opposed to the standard way, where you buy inventory, you've got sizes. It's a business that you have, monthly sales and annual sales goals in that manner.
So I think that initially the justification would be that it's a smart way to scale your business, right? Very simple example, if you have 500 units the first launch and that sells out, you're like, okay, well now we can try 1,000 units. Oh, that sold out. Now we can try 1,500 units. Okay, that sold out, and it allows you to not, I guess, risk losing a massive investment. But obviously, once you've had a sequence of successful launches, now you have a pretty good expectation. It also becomes like a supply chain question, because ideally I don't mind having consistent launches, but then each launch, it needs to be designed, which is not an easy process. You have to first order an initial sample, and that's going to, you pick the material, the different seams you're going to be using, the size chart, the length of every little measurement on the shirt or the pants or whatever it is. And inevitably, when you get that first sample, there's going to be some alterations that need to be made. Maybe the material shrinks a little more than you think. Maybe you just messed up the size chart. And these are generally coming from overseas. So it's not like, oh, we got the good sample, first sample today, we can get the next one tomorrow. You know, there's weeks in between each of these steps. And then once you actually finalize a sample and put it into production, you know, it's at least going to be like a month in production, and then shipping, depending if you ship through the air, through the sea, it takes time. So like right now, if today I come up with a new idea, I'm not going to be launching this product for 4 or 5 months, probably. Yeah, 3 months. 3 months probably would be great. I'd be super happy with 3 months. And that means that if you're going to do this launch model, that means that you consistently need to be designing the next launch, or that you're just going to have this massive dead space where you didn't design the next launch, where you're not making any profit. So I think that it depends on what business model you want. If you don't want to have super consistent launches, then you need to have larger quantities that don't sell out. So I can still, in between there, be running ads, or in my videos being said, you know, we still have all these shirts in stock, and you will get a drip of sales. Obviously, the spike is going to come from launch, but if you sell out, it's a spike and that's it. And if you have large spaces in between launches, you'd like there to at least be like a steady stream, because you're still making a profit on each item. Obviously, with clothing, the margins aren't insane.
How do you handle the fulfillment and the returns, the customer service end of things? I know that when I did apparel, it was tough, because, you know, sizing is such a tricky thing. Returns, like, talk a little bit about that real quick, if you would.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't really recommend anyone get into an apparel business, because it's not clean. It's like the least clean business model. Yeah. We have a warehouse that's out of Memphis that does all of they receive our large bulk orders from overseas, and they warehouse them and they ship them out, and that works great. Returns, we've had them doing the returns, but inevitably when you're relying on like a warehouse to do returns, sometimes they don't notify you right away that they got the package because it wasn't labeled correctly, or they accept an item that maybe shouldn't have been accepted. What they're good at is shipping things out, right? And they're very quick and they have great shipping speed, and it's amazing. But I think that one thing we're gonna have to do is hire someone else to start processing the returns, because and then we can bulk ship them back to the warehouse after we've kind of done the quality assurance. But that's a pain in the ass, right? No matter how you look at it, it's a pain in the ass.
How do you deal with customers that are super pissed off that they think, you know, I mean, I imagine like you get it back and it's like, no, it's perfect, right? It smells like cigarette smoke. It's got cat hair on it, like whatever, right? And so, you know, we live in an age of reviews. And this is something where, you know, everybody's got a voice. In the old days, like nobody would know if you had bad customer service, or if there was a customer that was like super fucking pissed. How do you handle that? How do you handle these people that are pissed off that you won't give them their money back?
You know, I don't have a perfect answer. I don't know if I've been in the game long enough to have a perfect answer, but for sure, I'll give repeat customers the benefit of the doubt and just be like, you know, we'll take the loss on this. If it's someone's first order and they're causing a massive ruckus, I might take a harder stance. I mean, I'm not the one doing the customer support anymore, but that's kind of the precedent that I've set. Like, you know, if it's their first order, they're causing a pain in the ass, you can just tell them to go screw themselves, basically. If assuming that they're clearly out of line, they send something back that, you know, the tags have been ripped off, there's a hole in it, and like obviously we shouldn't have to take that burden. Now, if they've had 7 orders with us and like they messed up once, well, we value repeat customers, right? Like that's the majority of business. Any business comes from repeat customers. So we'll take a loss there, because obviously it'll be a long-term profit still. But I'd say that's maybe a small way to make a distinction.
Yeah, man. Customer service, like they took me off of customer service for all my businesses a long time ago because we were smart. It's like, you want to get, because I'm like, no way, F you, you know, and
no, that's not a problem. The person we just hired, because I've been doing some of the customer support for the Beastly app because it was a new thing that we didn't have someone necessarily assigned to do it. And when I was onboarding them and showing them the emails, they're like, "You can't be sending customers these emails."
No.
Like, they're fucking wrong though.
Like, exactly. The customer is not always right, but you can't actually tell them that they're
wrong. You can't
wrong.
have the owner of the business, responding. We take it personal.
So, David, tell me where everybody can tell the audience where everybody can find you.
How to Beast, Instagram, YouTube, those are the main 2 platforms. Like you said, beastlyapp.com is where the app is at, but How to Beast.
All right, David, hey man, this was really a lot of fun. I have been rooting for you ever since I saw your sort of videos pop up in the recommended feed. I'm like, who's this? How to Beast what? And it's been really amazing to watch you grow, to see your success, and to actually get to know you. And so, you know, hopefully when this whole COVID thing, you know, clears up, I can come down and hang out with you down in Houston when you guys actually move and film a few workout videos. I used to work out a little bit, and I still love it and attribute fitness to changing my life. The single best decision I ever made was to start exercising at 12 years old, and it's been the one constant that I've had in my life ever since then. And I truly feel that there's nothing that will change your life like getting into the gym, taking care of your body, and lifting weights. And so thank you so much for all that you do for all these guys, and thank you for just being an inspiration to not only millions of men out there, but also to myself. And so David, you're a rock star, brother. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you, man. I'd love to get a workout in soon. And
No, I don't want to work out with you. I don't want to work out with you. You guys lift too heavy. I'm old. I'm fragile. Shit hurts now.
We'll hang out soon and maybe get a
maintenance. I'm all about maintenance, brother. But thank you so much for everything, man. You're an awesome dude, and I hope everybody goes, subscribes, and checks out your stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You've been a massive inspiration along my journey as well, so I appreciate that.
Thanks, dude. All right. See you guys.